Studies show that up to 85% of an employee's business performance is determined by the attitude they bring to their work. So, how do you hire, reward, and grow service-oriented attitudes in the people you lead? For the answer, we turn to Lisa Ford. Lisa Ford is a specialist in advising companies about how to best serve and retain customers. Her best-selling books and audio and video training programs are marketed worldwide. Listen as Lisa Ford explains how to hire, train, and reward employees.
How to hire, train, and reward customer service-oriented employees. Your most important asset is not only a satisfied customer, but also a motivated and satisfied employee. This session will deal with how to hire, train, and reward customer-oriented employees. Research is very convincing that customer turnover is related to employee turnover. It makes sense when you think about it. Customers want to deal with an employee who is motivated, happy, knows what's going on. And when they don't deal with someone who knows what's going on, they're more likely to leave our place of business. You play an important role in creating that environment that can really maximize the abilities and talents of people. Hire smart to start. Do you compete as hard for employees as you do your customers? Think about that for a moment, and especially keep that in mind as we look at the 5 keys to effective hiring. Number 1, be creative with the selection process and look in unusual places. Well, let me give you an example. Some of you probably immediately thought of an unusual place, but let me give you one. A director of operations for a laundry service company has a very unique approach. When he is somewhere and being served beautifully by a customer service employee, he gives them his business card. And on the back of the business card, it says, "I was very impressed with your service. If you're ever looking for a job, please contact me." Isn't that a great idea? He's already seen that service in action. He uses that card truly as a screening tool. A hotel chain that runs a very large telephone reservation center discovered they were having a lot of turnover with their employees. And they started thinking, possibly were they hiring the wrong type of employee? Was it the wrong profile? So they changed their tactic and they started hiring the older worker. Now, I'm not going to tell you what age they defined the older worker. And too many of us might fall into that category, so we won't talk about that. But they were a little concerned that by hiring someone a bit older, could it possibly take them longer to learn the computer and to get up to date with their training? Well, it did take a little bit longer. And they did change their benefits package they would offer to the older worker. But guess what? It worked. This employee stayed longer and they built rapport with the customer who was calling to book that hotel reservation. They started talking with them, found out that they were on a long extended trip and needed a hotel room in this one city, and then they would encourage them to look ahead and book a hotel room after traveling the following day. So it certainly benefited them to be a bit creative and look in unusual places. The second step to hiring is hire the attitude. Train the skills. A few years ago, a president of an airline said this: "People who can fly airplanes are a dime a dozen. People who can fly airplanes with great attitudes aren't." That's a pretty strong statement for someone who runs an airline to be looking for not only a great pilot, but also a great attitude. And I think that's exactly what we have to do. But how do you make sure you're hiring the attitude? That's the hard part. See if these ideas might help. A, ask yourself in the interviewing process, if I were the customer, would I want to be served by this person? Do that gut check trust your instincts. Is this someone you would really want to be served by? B, invest time in the interviewing process. I know people, and I bet you do too, you've sometimes interviewed 25 people in order to hire the one. You want to be smart to start, so invest lots of time in the hiring process. Don't just say, gosh, we've got to have somebody in here. We've got to hire somebody. Let's just go hire a warm body. Have you ever said it? If you only hire a warm body, what do you end up with? A warm body. And I'm not sure much else comes attached to it. So we end up doing ourselves a bit of a disservice. C, do some of the interviewing on the phone. Now, why? Many of you have customer service-oriented employees who spend a lot of time on the phone with a customer. So I want to hear how they sound on the phone. They might be brilliant face-to-face, one-on-one in the interview. I want to hear their tone of voice, to hear do they still have that same energy and enthusiasm on the phone in serving our customers. D, use behavioral interviewing. Now, behavioral interviewing is you're trying to get at how would this person act? How would they behave? Not just what they know. Their application, their resume would probably tell you what they know and what they've done. I need to figure out now, how would they actually act? So ask questions such as, give me an example of you delivering exceptional customer service. Ask about a situation they might have found themselves in on a previous job with a difficult customer. And say, have you ever dealt with a difficult customer? And most likely they would say, oh, certainly. Then say, have you ever dealt with one, pick an example, who was very angry because their order was not shipped on time, and when it did arrive, the order was not complete. And they might say, Then say, how did you handle a customer who was that angry? I want to hear how they answer that question, because that will help me get at how they actually think and then behave in those service situations. Now, the third step to effective hiring is use something called realistic job preview. Realistic job preview. If this is possible for you to do, hire this potential candidate on a part-time trial basis, like for 2 days, possibly up to 5 days. This will give you a chance to observe their service skills, their ability to fit in with the rest of the team. Realistic job previews can help you prevent turnover. The fourth step to be great at hiring, don't oversell your organization. Tell them the good, the bad, and the horrible of working there. Now, some of you say, I'm not sure there's horrible. Oh, I bet there's a little bit. You work really late, you stay late, you work hard, there are certain really busy times. See, I think if we only tell this potential employee all the good, and they come to work for us and it's not all good, then they could end up having so-called buyer's remorse. And then we get turnover again. The fifth step, start them right. Anytime we're new on a job, I believe we always ask ourselves 2 questions. Number 1, will I fit in and can I do the job? Will I fit in and can I do the job? So I want you to answer that question for this employee early on. First day on the job, have their workspace ready. Make it look like you wanted them there. Have you ever arrived first day on the job and you're glad to be there, they're glad to see you, and then they say, I don't know where we're going to put you yet. Like, wait a minute, they hired me, they knew I was coming today. What do you mean you don't know where you're going to put me? Make it look like you wanted them, you welcome them, you expect them. They start to feel like they fit. Have someone ready. Another staff member ready to take them to lunch or be there to answer some questions when you're not available. So there's somebody who can be that buddy that can really help them feel like they're fitting in. And then we've got to answer the question, can I do the job? So early on, give them a job, give them tasks, and give them feedback. Because I want them to see, are they fitting in? Can they do the job? We need to know this sooner, not later. Review those 5 skills. Are you hiring people who fit in with your customer service philosophy? And if not, which tool do you need to incorporate into your hiring process? Once you hire the right person, do you spend enough on training? There's a growing understanding that the most successful companies are investing between 2 and 5% of their payroll on training. So the first step is invest in training. The second is do it early. A large transportation company did this as an experiment. They put one group of new hires through training. They did not put another group of new hires through training. The new hires who received training had a 19% turnover rate. Compared to the second group who received no training, their turnover rate was 41%. And that becomes costly, as you well know, not only true cost, but your time, your energy, and I believe the wear on the rest of the staff. The third key to training, continuous training, is a must. Look for every opportunity to train. Is it during a lunch session that you get people to watch some videotapes or discuss some new idea that we need to put into practice? Is it at a staff meeting where we just simply do 10 minutes of a lesson, or somebody's read a journal article and we talk about those articles and what we gained from them and how we could benefit from those ideas in our own organization? And the fourth key is adapt training to each employee's needs. Because one employee might need communication skills where somebody else needs an update with their computer skills. So I've got to make certain I'm giving them training that works for them, that they need at that point in time. And the fifth step, job observation exchange. It's a big word for a simple concept. Job observation exchange simply means getting people out of their environment, their work area, their desk, their position out there on the operations floor and into another department, into another unit. Here's why. They need to see how their work affects another team's, another department. Because see, we get so comfortable with our space and we forget that what we turn out goes somewhere else. And when I possibly send something to you that's not right, or it's late, or there's an error in it, then it creates some major problems down the line. I need to see that and experience it. So encourage people around you to, on a quarterly basis, for half day or a full day, go to another department, another group, so they can see how their work affects someone else's. And then, of course, once they've made that visit, I want them to come back and share lessons learned by being in that department and how I have learned what we need to do differently here to improve our work. Okay? Let's review. We've talked about the tools to effective hiring and then the need for training. We have to take the next step, which is keep your people motivated. Simply keeping people motivated means let's look at what we can do to reward people. A motivated employee will provide gold standard customer service. They'll be an incredible asset to the rest of the group. I want to cover 4 strategies to reward employees. Number 1, be specific. Meaning, when I say, thank you, good job, keep up the good work, that's not enough. That's not specific. If I tell you, good job, keep up the good work, I don't know exactly what it is I need to do again for you to compliment me. Instead, go to the person and say, thank you. I appreciate you getting that to me by 3 o'clock. The detail you put in that is exactly what I needed, and that's helped me meet my deadline. Thank you for being so thorough. That's specific. Very simple. Number 2, don't underestimate the value of small rewards. Don't underestimate the value of small rewards. Little things work, and they keep people motivated. Let me give you a few examples of this. I was working one day with a group of nurses, and the nurse manager told me a pretty incredible story of something that she had done, she just somewhat happened upon, and how it worked. Let me tell you the story. She had a nurse come into her one day. One of the nurses of her staff came in, and this nurse bragged on something she had done. She knew her nurse manager might not hear about it or find out about it, so she went in and bragged on herself. Don't you love that spirit in somebody? They're willing to do it. Well, she went in and bragged on herself, and the nurse manager thanked her and thanked her appropriately. And she said, I don't know what got into me, but I wanted to give her something. So I looked around for something to give her. And I had brought a banana as part of my lunch. It was on my desk. She said, I picked up the banana and gave it to her. She left. She said, here's the part you won't believe. Before the end of this work shift, 2 other nurses, different nurses, came in, bragged to the nurse manager about what they had done above and beyond the call of duty. They bragged on themselves, and then they waited for their banana. And she said, I couldn't believe it. People were coming in for a banana, which caused her to get creative. She went to one of these companies that make some of the little metal pins. You can picture it. She had a little metal banana pin made. Okay? Now when somebody does something extraordinary, above and beyond the call of duty, they get a banana pin. They love wearing them because patients or family members of patients will say, what is that? And they get to brag on themselves as they talk about the banana pins. Here's the part I loved. The hospital administrator had come to this nurse manager and had said, this is a great idea. Everybody in the hospital is talking about it. Can we take this hospital-wide? And she said, no. She said, I will help us come up with an idea. We can take hospital-wide. But this means a lot to my people. And I don't want other managers to have these bananas and give them out for no good reason. Such as, you came back from lunch, have a banana pin. Okay? You showed up for work, have a pin. She said, it will dilute the meaning that I've been able to create because they get them for true stellar behavior. Great idea. The value of small rewards can be tremendous. Another example comes from a large company that's in the business of moving people. They gave all employees these black cards that had a large gold Q on the front. These were called Q cards, which stood for quality. All employees had access to these, and they could give one out to anyone when they saw quality customer service being delivered. You had to write on the back of the Q card what the person had done and why they deserved it. You gave it to them. Then, as an employee, I got my Q card. I can then go redeem the Q card. I would go to a certain department within the organization, and I could redeem it for things such as an ice cream cones, movie passes, half-hour off, the manager's parking spot for 3 days. Okay? Those kind of fun ideas, but here's what was happening. No one was redeeming the Q cards. They were hanging them in their workspace. Does that make sense? People wanted to brag about having all these Q cards. They wanted them to be visible. It was like hanging money. But the visible reward was more important to them. Small rewards work. Number 3, have fun. When you reward people, make a big deal out of it. Have fun. And number 4, be spontaneous. I believe when you're spontaneous, people don't expect the reward. It is remembered longer by them. Your challenge is to create a long list of ideas on what you can do to reward people. And once you create the long list, be ready to change it a lot, because people get used to you doing the same thing and it doesn't have as much meaning after a while. So get creative, come up with great ideas, and use them. Use these 4 steps to make rewards a way of life. Too many managers can be stingy with rewards. I'm not saying you are, but many can be. Don't take the people you work with for granted. Recognize their hard work, their teamwork, and great customer service. It's expensive to hire, train, and then ultimately lose people. Let's talk about how you can retain staff through your leadership. These ideas require you being forward-thinking and keeping customer service on the company agenda at all times. Let's go through 5 steps. 1, tie compensation to retention and customer service. There's a major credit card processing company that has determined for each department the key things that have the biggest impact on keeping customers. Then, employees are measured daily by each department on how performance targets are being met. The previous day's performance is posted, and when the company hits 95% of the performance targets, the company contributes money to a bonus pool. And that pool is used to pay bonuses that can equal up to 20% of employees' salaries. Guess what? Turnover is 7% at this company, which is 1/3 of the industry average. And they always have plenty of people waiting for a job at this company. The second strategy, spend time on customer service issues. That means as the managerial leader, you speak about service. You talk about it at company meetings, at new employee orientations. You read the latest stuff and bring that to the people you work with. Number 3, remind people of the importance of customer service. How? Let's learn from that credit card processing company I just mentioned. Here's what they do. When you walk in their building, 4 main entrances, woven in the carpet by 9.5, 5.5 feet, are the words, "The customer comes first." You walk over that every morning. And above all the doors you pass through in the building, you will see signs such as, "Think of yourself as the customer." Oh, and when you receive your paycheck, on the envelope, you will see stamped the words, "Brought to you by the customer." It's real tough to forget why you have a job at this credit card processing company. Does it work? Yes. They keep 95% of their customers loyal versus the competition, only 88%. So by reminding people of customer service, it works. Number 4, put yourself on the front line. Here's what I mean. Do the job of people around you. Sit in, listen on calls, take some of the calls. And I believe you will not do this unless you go back and put that on your calendar. Make the time to do it. Doing this gives you the chance to sit, keep your mouth shut, listen, and have your eyes wide open. You learn a lot of how you can be a better manager and leader when it comes to customer service teams. And number 5, ask this question. To be a great leader, ask this. If you had my job, what 3 things would you do to affect customer satisfaction? If you had my job, what 3 things would you do to affect customer satisfaction? By asking that question regularly, employees will give you feedback. They know what hassles the customer. Gathering this information will keep you learning, growing, and improving service. And with that focus, you'll create a winning organization and a winning team of people around you. Your leadership makes it happen. Hiring, training, rewarding, and leading customer-oriented employees is a big job. But we know the best organizations are known for their exceptional customer service. Remember, it's your purpose as an organization to sell and service the customer. Your challenge is to create the environment where the best are hired, trained, and rewarded. The power is in your hands.